Okay, we need our player character has a platform character behavior on him. What that means is he can move as well as he has gravity on him. So there's something else we need to do to him. We're going to left click on him. We're going to go back to behaviors, and we need to actually turn off default controls for him. So I just double clicked on him, and then I went to behaviors, and I just unclicked default controls. I'm then going to click apply. Okay, we need something for him to stand on, so we're going to go to the right. We're going to click plus. We're going to click sprite. We're going to name this ground. We're going to click the plus button to the right, but instead of clicking the plus button to the left, we're going to go to this where we see edit with Piskel. This is a built-in graphic editor inside of Gdevelop. So we're going to left click on this. And then we're going to look to our bottom left in Piskel. We're going to click on the color selector. I'm going to go towards yellow, drag my mouse down just so I can have a brownish color, which I like using for ground. I'm going to go to the paint bucket, left click, and just click here to have this be filled in brown. I'm going to go to where we see this new object. I'm going to name this ground. You don't have to do this. I'm just choosing to do that. So now I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to left click on behaviors, and you can see like this purple lines underneath here where it says behaviors. I'm going to click this plus button to the right. Now I'm going to select platform, and this is fine. I'm going to click OK. Okay, now what I'm going to do is left click on the ground, and now it's selected, it's highlighted blue, so I'm going to left click again, hold down my left mouse button and drag this onto the scene. And then what I'm going to do is move this to the side of our player. I'm going to go to this square that you see right here, left click and drag this out to the side. So now our player has a ground to stand on. So the player has platform character, a platform character behavior. Our ground has platform behavior. So I'm going to click plus so you can see what happens. You can see our player is standing on the ground. However, our player is a little above the ground, so let's deal with that. I'm going to click the X button, come out of the preview. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's click on our player. So our player is, when you look to the left, you see the Z order. This means our player will be in the background. So 1 is furthest in the background, then 2 is further out from the background, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The further you get out, I'm not sure how many levels you can have, but the further you get away from 1, the closer you get towards the screen. Closer you get to 1, the more you get towards the background. So when we click here, see this says 2. So for our player character, we're going to change this to 4. Then I'm just going to left click outside there. I'll click back on him. So now you can see his Z order is 4. Okay, so if you look at his the box around him, this box, he's a little above the bottom of the box, so we need to adjust that. So the way we can do that is we're going to left click on player, we're going to scroll to the bottom, we're going to go to where we see edit hitboxes, and this box right here is his collision mask box, and this is also what he's standing on. So we want to adjust this so that it looks like he's standing on the ground. So to do that, we're going to go to use a custom collision mask. When I click that, nothing happened yet. We need to click this button to the right. So we'll click that. Now you can see these 4 dots here. So what we want to do is drag these down. So I'm going to put these around where his ankles are at, so that he stands on the ground. And we're going to move these up. So that should be good. This is important that this is blue as well, showing you that where this says share same collision mask for all animations, this also says share same collision mask for all sprites of this animation. You want both of these things to be highlighted blue. If they're not, you will have issues. So with that done, we're going to click close. Then we're going to click apply. Okay, so I'm going to click the preview button. So now you can see our player character looks like he's actually standing on the ground. The reason why he's doing his idle animation already is because that first animation Gdevelop is set up so your character will automatically start doing the first animation. So that's why why he's animating. However, if I push the arrow keys, our character won't move because I turned off the default controls. So we're going to set up for him to move as well as for him to do his the purpose of this tutorial, which is the random animations. So I'm going to click this X button to get out of that preview. Okay, here in Gdevelop, you work with basically your artwork. We want to work with our programming, so we're going to left click here. When we click here, we see this. There are no events. Events are composed of conditions and actions. Add your first event using the first buttons of the toolbar. That is right here. So what we're going to do is left click right here. Once we left click there, we are set up to start programming. The way things work in Gdevelop is you set up your condition. Your condition basically says when something happens, do something, and your add action basically says what to happen when that condition happens. If there's no condition, then your action basically continues to keep trying to do in a loop. Okay, so we're ready to begin programming. We just came over here. We are going to go back briefly to here. And the reason why we came back here is so we could put a variable on our player character. We could do that in the programming. I'm just choosing to do it here. See where we see player. I'm going to left click here. Left click on the dots that you see right here. And then we have edit object variables. I'm going to left click here. I'm going to click this plus button to the right. Basically, a variable is a container of information, and it's also a container of information that you can make change at certain times. And when that information changes, you can cause other things to happen. So we're going to change the name of this variable to random. I'm going to hold shift, press P, pose, and then we're going to click apply. When we click apply, that variable should equal 0 for now. There's multiple types of variables that you can work with, as well as multiple things that variables can do. For the purposes of this tutorial, this variable that we will be working with will be holding numbers for us, and we're going to set things up so that when those numbers change, that's when we have our random poses happen. Okay, so since we have that variable set up, we're going to click on New Scene Events. We're then going to click Add Condition. We're then going to see this variables here. You don't want this variables, right? You don't want this. You want to click this first. Then you want to scroll down, and this looks like the same thing. This isn't the same thing. We're going to left click here. This deals with the a variable that works with objects. This is what you want. So you're going to left click here. You're going to click to work with the object of the variable that we're working with. The object is on the player, so you're going to left click there. So now what you're going to do is you're going to click here. You can see the variable there. You're going to click there. For the sign of this test, you want to click equals. And the reason why we're doing this is we're saying when this setting is set to a certain number, we want Gdevelop to do something. And that something we wanted to do is to play a random animation for us. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to enter in 4, and then we're going to click OK. Okay, so this is saying when this variable equals 4, we want something to happen. That's something we want to happen is we want to play our random animation 4. So we're going to click Add Action. We're going to go to Sprite, Animations and Images, and we're going to go down to change the animation by name. We're going to left click here. The object that we want to work with is our player, and the animation name is R4. So we're going to hold shift, put in quotation, R4. The reason this needs to be put in quotation is there's certain things in Gdevelop where it knows the words that you're using is meant to be used with Gdevelop. We made up this name, so because this is our name, we need to put it in quotation. So that's why it's quotation, R4, quotation. So now we're going to click OK.